This is Jpar, and we're just going to do a little thing here. This is a WPN exclusive. That stands for We Promise Nothing, folks. And this is just a little bit of after talk after we do the show, because we usually talk a lot after we're done, and I figured it'd be a good time to use some of that content and let you guys hear some of the stuff that we're talking about. In this particular portion, we are going to fix the movie that we just saw, which was Underworld Blood Wars. So tell me, guys, what's the first thing you do to fix this movie? You can go ahead there, Myles.
Oh, are we talking?
Sure we are.
How to fix this movie? Wow. The movie shouldn't have been made.
So is that how you're going to fix it?
I think they did the best thing they could at the end of the movie and kind of wrap things up. This search for the daughter ended by her mysteriously just showing up out of nowhere. Hey, you owe me child support. You know, where were you the last 10 years for my birthdays, fucking Christmases and shit? Oh, how do you fix this movie? That is such a loaded question. Continuity.
You gotta pick one thing. If you pick one thing to fix it.
Okay. Backstory for every character that they showed on screen, which would require a longer runtime.
Longer runtime. Is that what you're gonna go for?
I'm gonna
or
go
backstory.
For that. I'm gonna go for that. Well, you can't have one without the other. So longer runtime then.
Longer runtime for Myles. How would you fix this movie, Da Boo?
God, yeah, it's like you said. There's just so much to pick at. I'm going to go with this. I kind of feel like character development was not there because I was already confused with enough of the characters just showing up on screen and not having a single shred of anything to know where they fit within the story. So for me, there was not enough character development.
Character development. And Clayton, how would you fix Blood Wars?
I would have taken the events of Underworld 5 and stripped them down and used those in the exposition to set up the story for the search for the daughter. And I would have started basically at the end of the movie and moved forward from there.
I see. So you would have...
The events that happened here, Celine could have narrated them at the beginning the same way that she did.
Make it more about the search for the daughter is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And strip it down and have more time pass so that the events in this movie have actually already passed. That way they could avoid adding all those extraneous characters and then just start the search for the daughter.
All right, so tell me now, why is the search for the daughter more important than a longer runtime?
Because sometimes you don't need more. I don't need the movie to be longer for me. I need it to tell a focused narrative that has intention. And I feel like this movie stumbled around in the dark and the directors and maybe even the writers didn't really know what they wanted from it. They wanted to go someplace, but they needed a way to get there. And they dropped the ball and wrote this movie.
All right, Myles, so why is a longer runtime better than the story about the search for the daughter?
Well, I think you kind of sort of tripped over it. If they had a longer runtime, they'd be able to tell the story that they were trying to tell. I feel like the short time that they had and the amount of subplot / plot that they had in the movie, it tripped over itself a lot, and it was hard to keep focus which one was more important at that point. This person wants this person wants that, and then they wrap up the whole movie, and it's kind of like, I needed more, start to finish.
Okay. And Da Boo, why is character development better than a longer runtime or even the search for the daughter?
I think that what I'm kind of seeing in what I feel like this story really lacked. Again, I really do honestly feel this was more of a filler movie, so I feel like if they were to avoid that, the best way to do that is give me some significance to these characters I'm seeing on screen. The only way to do that is give me a backstory or at least something that gives me some kind of emotional tie to them. I didn't get that from any of these characters. I mean, maybe Celine at the most because she's the only consistency I think that we've seen throughout this entire movie. Even some of the elders, for crying out loud, I have no idea who they were. I feel like if they were used in the last movies, maybe they weren't used enough. But none of these characters other than Celine had a backstory, and I feel like maybe that's why this entire thing is nothing but filler for me. So against the other two, maybe it has something to do with length. I don't quite know if it's just simply making it longer would actually give them the room to tell such stories, because I feel like that maybe ties into that, but I feel like it's not simply making it longer. You got to make it longer with reason. And actually, what was yours?
The search for the daughter. You thought it should be more focused on the search for the daughter.
Well, if they were going to set the movie up with exposition from the earlier movies,
right?
Why not just set up this movie with the events that happened in the proper Underworld 5, right?
Right.
And start at the end. Like, if they were going to give us 10 minutes of just flashbacks and whatnot, they could have flashed back a bunch of these scenes with these characters and moved ahead from there. Because it felt like they were just transitioning from one point in the story, and they were purposely trying to set it up to get to the search for the daughter. And that the events of the movie were actually largely unimportant.
Right.
So what you're saying is you wish they had more time to tell that story.
No. I wanted them to take the events of this
That makes
movie,
sense.
take this movie, strip it into a 10-minute exposition, put it at the beginning, start at the end, and move forward from there. The daughter should have been in this movie.
So another 10 minutes. Gotcha.
I don't know if it was so much. He's just simply saying take the entirety of the movie and make it part of that intro blurb. That
So are
we've
you
seen.
defending his now, or?
No, I kind of feel like I know where you're coming from. I don't know if it's so much we needed to get to the end of that and say, listen, we're looking for the daughter. Here, we're at that point. You know, and I get what you're saying. I don't know if that was so much a need in this case, but I really do feel that probably would have made a much more interesting story. In this case, if they really want to take this movie for what it is, give me the meat and potatoes, as I always say, right? I didn't get
You
enough.
always say that.
I always say that, yes. Right. And there's a reason. I honestly, just with characters, this is a character-driven story. If you don't have any kind of backstory to these characters, there's really no reason for me to see them on screen.
Yeah.
And this movie was filled with characters, so clearly you have to give me something to go by. It didn't give me enough.
They added, that's what I mean, there were so many subplots and extraneous characters that the narrative would have benefited by being stripped down and just... Because, I mean, even like a movie like Star Wars, like The Empire Strikes Back, there's a point of time that passes, right? They don't pick right up. And I feel like the events that happened in this movie could have been relegated to just Celine narrating them at the beginning. She could have just basically give you flashbacks and told you, okay, well, this happened and my daughter's gone and the Lycans rose up and most of the covens are stripped away and now there are very few of us left and open scene.
Exactly. Just like you said, the Star Wars movies did it right. The pacing was better. We had longer movie run times. Okay, so they're able to take their time. The pacing in this movie was horrible.
Yeah.
Quick edits. You had like 1 minute quip scenes, and you had no idea what happened, or it leads into another scene really quick. It's like, okay, and then you gotta catch up all the time. So even the story they give you is so quick that you can't understand it. You can't follow them. And then halfway through the movie, I'm going to say like 30 minutes, 40 minutes in, you don't care anymore because you're lost. It left you behind.
And they're still introducing subplots.
And there's still, and now there's more plots to the story. It's like, why? So I do agree with you in the sense that they needed focus. They needed direction. They needed a director.
Calling you out,
Anna.
Okay. If I gotta pick a winner out of your arguments, because you all made very good points. Oh my god, I can't even pick because you're all right.
Yeah, it needed all three.
Contest.
Well, that's what this is. I want everyone to vote at home. Leave comments below. What do you think's more important? Do you think the longer runtime is needed for this kind of movie? Do you think better character development is needed, or should it just been more focus on the search for a daughter? I gotta agree with all three of these. I don't even want to pick a winner out of this.
We're all winners.
Well, don't. Yeah.
Hey.
Collective high five.
I will say that I'll tell you what. I'll give you all a point, and we'll do another round of
another
something.
point.
So you're all right, because like the whole movie, Kate Beckinsale's like, we gotta find my daughter. We gotta find my daughter. Daughters
Even
nowhere
the main
to be
bad
found.
guy. Even the main bad guy.
She's the common thread running through the entire movie.
But
You
the
never
daughter
see
is
her.
never
And they
found.
never get closer
And
to her.
they never do. And I got about halfway through this movie, and I was like, this movie's only an hour and a half long. They are never gonna find that daughter. What are they planning? Like, they planning another
what I
one.
mean.
yeah,
like,
because
they were
there's no
trying-
clues.
Right.
They
So
were trying
once
to
again,
get
this comes
to her,
back, and this
but
comes
they
back.
never made any ground towards reaching her.
Never.
So this comes back to what Myles said, longer runtime, because you needed story. And there was a lot of quick cuts. And once again, it also adds onto what Da Boo is saying, character development. Like, we don't know what's going on. Like, even if at least we just cared about the characters, maybe we could just get more into it. So, you know what? Everyone's right. I can't even say no one lost that. But let's do another round. You went first last time, Myles?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, Boo, start us off after this great big movie extravaganza. What's next for Kate Beckinsale? Cast me a movie with Kate Beckinsale. Pitch that movie.
Jesus. Well,
give that to him?
we clearly don't want to typecast. We clearly don't want to typecast her.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm not even giving you a genre. I'm going to let you pick the genre, and I'll let you pick the co-star, and you guys have to pick something different. You can't pick the same genre and co-star as him when it gets to your turn.
Okay.
All right, go Da Boo.
Honestly, I kind of feel like she's already a pretty strong femme fatale kind of character. I would see her very much in. I don't want to go as far as a James Bond style of movie, but I feel like a secret agent kind of scenario. I really do see an action-packed moment where, honestly, almost John Wick effect. I think where it's just more raw, more maybe a bit of Bourne. Maybe Bourne meets John Wick. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds
But
good.
I just love that whole.
So who's her co-star, and what is she doing in this movie?
Oh, we're going that far, are we? Who would be next to Kate? You know what? I'm gonna go with Gerard Butler. I feel like he's
always
another...
go to Gerard Butler. That's
Do
your
I?
go-to.
Do I really?
Yes.
Should I change that? Maybe
No,
I
no.
should do an opposite.
So
he's good.
That's not bad.
So Gerard
Yeah,
Butler,
yeah.
Kate Beckinsale
They've
in
already
a
done a movie together, haven't they?
So is it
I'm
a
sure they
spy? So is it a spy or an assassin? Is it more Jason Bourne or is it more John Wick?
Is it a revenge
Oh,
thriller
I see
or
what
is
you
it
mean.
a secret agent?
No, it's I'm going to stick with my secret agent thing. It
Okay,
was
so
more-
Gerard Butler, Kate Beckinsale, spy movie. You're gonna have some time to think about it. Clayton.
Okay, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I know, like, we've had lots of conversations about how video games make bad movies, but if they ever made a Tomb Raider movie again, I feel like Kate
Tomb
Beckinsale-
Raider reboot
Kate
with
Beckinsale,
Kate
as
Beckinsale.
Lara Croft, I think is a very good idea because she's a really strong feminine lead.
You better not say Gerard Butler, because I'm pretty sure he was already in one of those movies.
Well, Gerard Butler's awesome. No, I'm not going to pick Gerard Butler, and I'm actually trying to think of somebody who they could put opposite her that wouldn't play like the pretty boy. Somebody like Robert Carlyle or like, you remember him, Begbie from Trainspotting, as her antagonist.
Okay.
Not necessarily co-star, but just the opposite lead.
Okay.
Robert Carlyle, or even, oh god, I don't even know. Somebody who's kind of...
All right, so Robert Carlyle is your villain, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that him and her would go good against each other.
Kate Beckinsale in the Tomb Raider reboot. Myles.
So I'm going to just flip the script here. You're saying, where does she go after this movie?
Yeah.
I'm saying this ruined her career. Okay? And she's going to be filming her next movie in Sudbury. Because that's when you know...
So the We Promise Nothing movie?
Yeah.
Stacking up on Scott Speedman's couch.
Well, actually, it's funny you should say that. Scott Speedman's going to be her co-star. It's going to be kind of on the same lines. I don't know if you've seen that one movie filmed in Sudbury with Ryan Reynolds where their kid goes missing. And it's going to be the same thing, dramatic suspense, but this time she's looking for her missing daughter versus Ryan Reynolds looking for the missing daughter. So you're going to have washed up Scott Speedman. It will say he's a I don't know. He works the night shelving job at Walmart or some crap.
Isn't that what he looks like?
Yeah, he's that guy. He's
Home
that guy.
Depot. That's
He
Scott
looks
Speedman.
cool, but he fucked up somewhere, and now he's working at Walmart. No offense to Walmart employees. And then we'll make her a nurse. We'll say that she's got this really cool job where she's helping people.
All right, so that sounds like that could be interesting. All right, so Da Boo, maybe you can elaborate more on your movie and why is your movie better than the Tomb Raider reboot starring Kate Beckinsale or Kate and Scott's kid goes missing movie?
Well, I'll be honest. I don't know if I want to see another movie shot in Walmart, and I really don't know. Because clearly, even in Sudbury's Walmarts, they're not really that interesting. All right. Well, honestly, a movie with Kate and Gerard, I can honestly see them action all the way through. I know I keep repeating that, but it's almost like this. How can I say it? I'm almost expecting the electricity to be almost always on effect, where they're always on screen. So they're
Lots
always
of chemistry.
I'm always expecting them to be going full tilt in every scene. How can I describe this? I haven't really given them an antagonist. You know what? Let's give him Kevin Spacey.
Whoa, he's just throwing
Lex
the
Luthor.
names in.
Because I realize I haven't
Lex
quite
Luthor.
actually. Yeah.
So Kevin Spacey is your villain. This movie's sounding better already.
Yeah.
Now, we all know how villainous Kevin can be.
So what's Kevin Spacey's plan to take over the world since it's like a spy movie?
Now it's taken over the world.
Well, okay, well, what's his plan? He must have
He's
an evil
looking
plan.
to cripple the world in such a fashion that he himself may not even come out of it. Let's put it that way. So he's willing to literally obliterate the planet. It's your typical villain, right? And Myles is giving me this look like, well, what's wrong with that?
Damn you,
Well, I don't know if it's your typical villain, where he destroys himself in the end, but
So this,
I know a few
this
villains
sounds
that
like
do that.
a big, like, adventurous romp. It kind of sounds like it's gonna be like a big action, kind of movie, like maybe, hopefully, a blockbuster in the summer or something like that. But how would you say a Tomb Raider reboot is better than that? Clayton?
Honestly, I don't know that it would be. I think that the Tomb Raider reboot. I just feel
You're out.
I just feel like Beckinsale would bring something different to the character. I mean, Angelina Jolie is just she's just awful. I don't want to see her in anything else. I don't really like her, and I just feel like as a reboot, like as an actual redesign of the character, she could do a good job of it.
But you're saying your movie's not better than
It's Tomb Raider. It's a popcorn muncher. It's Kate Beckinsale. It's a summer
Beckinsale.
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 Beckinsale?
Beckinsale.
I don't even know her name.
You kept repeating Beckinsale the whole time. I wasn't sure if you're catching on.
Well, yeah. Okay, so Kate Beckinsale. Kate Beckinsale. It would just be kind of like a fluff movie. But I mean, I don't know that she's really good for too much more.
Oh my god. All right, Myles. So why is this dramatic role where she's searching for a kid better than a Tomb Raider or a spy flick?
I think it's going to be better because we're used to her hammering out these Underworld movies. We've seen her do action. Let's see her some acting chops with some dramatic flair. And my antagonist in this movie, it's going to be Tom Hardy.
Oh.
And here's the plot twist. Because Scott Speedman, he owes a lot of money to some bad people, he actually hired this guy to kidnap his daughter so that he can get ransom money from this girl because her parents are rich. So that's the plot twist. He's an a-hole. Scott Speedman is a dick, but he needs money because he's going to get his legs broken.
So he captures the daughter to the woman he loves?
He's so hurting for money that he's willing to sell his daughter. Like he's going to
So the twist is
have
it's the husband.
Yeah, it's the husband that
Nice.
hired Tom Hardy to
I
kidnap
can't help
the
but
daughter.
feel that this is something that Scott Speedman actually goes through in his regular life.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. Date rich women.
All right,
and
you
then
guys have one more chance to tell me why your movie's better than the other ones, and I'm gonna make a decision.
Wow, with a twist like that, I don't know.
I don't know.
Twist!
Oh,
Twist!
okay.
Who is a twist? No, you didn't. You heard nothing. Honestly, I don't know if I would want to see Kate in another movie where... See, to me, that strikes me as very much a twist that I would almost want to expect, I would think. Because I don't know if I want to... I don't see Kate in a movie where there is that much of a twist. It would be refreshing. I guess that might be one way of putting it.
Good point. It would be refreshing.
Yes, you're right. Is that maybe the right path? Because you yourself said that was this Underworld movie of hers was a career killer, right?
Yeah, so she needs the 180 where she's going. No more action movies.
So you want to go with the
Let's see another side of Kate
Shyamalan
Beckinsale.
ending, is what you're telling me?
Because the
you
number
want to go with the
23
twist
worked out so
ending
good
that
for Jim Carrey.
might go one step further and ruin that career step, so to speak, right? So I don't know if I would do that. I honestly do genuinely feel that what something like Underworld had, where the action was there and it's present, it's just all they ever rely on, it seems like, as of late. You take a lot of that magic and you put it to proper use, you end up with other action movies of different sorts. But I really do genuinely think she'd fit nicely in a nice, good, genuine spy movie. Again, with a little bit of the wick,
With a little wick.
With a little wick in it.
A little tiny wick.
a little wick.
Gotcha. Yeah.
A wee wick.
Just flick the wick.
All right, so you already agreed that your movie wasn't better than the spy movie,
Well,
so is it better than his movie?
I'm having my money man reallocate my budget, and I'm going to see Myles' movie.
There you go.
It actually sounds
There you go.
interesting to me.
Yeah, we're gonna get down and dirty. Tom Hardy has already played some down and dirty characters, and I could just picture him
Revenant.
being a gangster. Yeah, and you know what? He was the best part of the Revenant.
Your favorite movie.
Only his part, because he played a dick start to finish,
All right.
and you wanted to see the payoff of him getting effed over in the end.
All right.
So-
Calling it.
It's the wick
I
versus
think
the
I might
dick.
be on the same page.
Calling it. Myles gets the point.
I was just
first.
going to say, I might actually go see your movie more. I really would.
I mean, you won your opponents over, so how can I not give it to you?
It was the twist that did it for
Yeah,
me.
it's a
But when you said Tom Hardy was the villain, I was so much more interested. I'm like, oh.
Speaking of Gerard Butler and twist movies, have you seen what is it? Trash, I think it's called. Shattered.
He wasn't in
Shattered.
Was that the one where he was in jail?
No,
But he still
no,
committed
that's
crimes?
Law Abiding Citizen. Shattered is the
okay.
one where they think his daughter gets kidnapped by Pierce Brosnan?
No.
Really? You should watch it. For reasons I'll go into at another time.
My biggest problem with yours, Boo, is you have a British person with a Scottish person, and honestly, I not that I have any issues with British people or Scottish people, but I find that if you try to make Gerard Butler American, or if you try to make Kate Beckinsale American, it just comes off as like some words like just throw you off sometimes. So if they were to be natural with each other, it would be really weird. It would be more of a comedy, I think.
You know, I did exactly the same thing. Well, Robert Carlyle's Scottish, and Kate Beckinsale is British.
Yeah. Well, so, look at every movie with Gerard Butler. He's always paired with very American people, and same with Kate Beckinsale. She's with American people. It's like that contrast with the accents works, but when you have two strong accents together, it clashes, I find.
Yeah, that could be a good way of putting it.
And the last question for the night, for our after hours talk, or whatever we're going to call this. Our last question for the night. Best vampire movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Clayton starts off, right?
Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn is your choice.
Good pick.
Myles.
I'm going to pick Blade 1.
Blade 1. And Da Boo.
You know, when I was thinking this the other night,
And I
was struggling. No, there were no candles.
Okay. Lavender? Incense?
Plenty of garlic. Honestly, I think the one that I genuinely took the right elements of what I think a vampire movie would need is, the right amount of shock and the right amount of horror, because it is a horrific creature. I feel Vampires, John Carpenter's Vampires. I enjoyed that one. It shocked me in different ways that I didn't expect a vampire movie to shock me.
All right, so I'm going to do this argument. I'm going to try not to be biased, because obviously I have my own preference for movies, so it's going to be about the argument. So fight.
Fight.
Fight. By the way, Myles has 2 points, and you guys have 1. You guys have a chance to tie him.
Well, my argument for Dusk Till Dawn is Harvey Keitel and Quentin Tarantino, Juliette Lewis, Cheech Marin, and Danny Trejo. And the movie starts off with in a very Tarantino-esque way, and then when they get to the vampires, it turns into a Rodriguez flick.
Yeah,
like it covers all of its bases. It's got a lot of action. It's just got a lot of stuff going for it, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it all the way through because I don't really take my vampire movies too seriously, so it was interesting.
Myles, why is Blade better?
Why is Blade better than these other movies?
Yes.
Well, it was an action flick, so both I would say are actually all these movies are action flicks.
They're all action.
They all have a sexual content to them, and vampires always came off as sexual creatures.
Yes.
So all 3 movies they carry that along. But Blade for me really stood out. The way that Wesley Snipes carried himself from start to finish was just so. He made you feel less of a man, we'll just say, because he's such a manly vampire.
Blade emasculated.
Yeah, he totally demasculates people because he's so strong, he's so powerful. You believe that he's kicking people's asses. He walks into a room and all the vampires are scared, and these vampires are immortal. So that to me was just like this. He's here to fucking play. And I like that shit. I like that Royal Rumble, and it didn't, just kind of like these other movies, didn't really take themselves seriously. Yeah. And they played with the lore. They kept the garlic. They kept the silver. They kept the vampires replicate. But for me, Blade stood out just because it was an action flick, and it didn't try to be anything else but an action flick.
Da Boo, why is John Carpenter's Vampires better?
See, it's funny you ended on that note there, Myles, because I feel that's part of the reasons why when I think of vampire movies, I would not turn to an action movie first before horror. Vampires truly are, it's one of the classic creatures, in terms of horror, right? When I break it down, when I used to really look at almost any vampire movie, I would always look upon, not only the creature itself, but simply said just what that creature brought to the screen. Because I feel like every single moment we see these scenes come out where it's like, okay, we got the garlic, we got the sunlight, we got a lot of the typical stereotypes of this kind of creature. But then here comes along John Carpenter and writes a story in such a way that I feel like he just took the creature and said, okay, well, what happens when it's in a modern day time? Okay, cool, that's a different way of saying it. now let's add this, order of killers, killing vampires on a generation by generation basis. I felt like they had an instant backstory without having to explain much into it, because that's just history all in itself. But we are in the modern time, and we actually have vampires amongst us. But that's it. Now all of a sudden they're in the middle of the desert. The rest of the story is based on the characters, and I feel like the characters weren't much, but were enough to give me this believability, like the vampires were really a threat. The second you were in their den, you were almost done for, unless you had their awareness and their experience killing them, right? So instantly the vampire comes up on screen. People are getting killed in such brutal ways, like the one scene that comes to mind is, the vampire greeting the guy at the front door. Hi, after just knocking on the door, and he puts his hand in him and then he just pulls up, like butter once again. But literally the guy's split in half, but before you know it, it wasn't quite a split. It was just such a quick scene, right? But that instantly brought like the shock to me. And again, how do they get the vampires out of their den? They literally just went up to them and then shot them with a crossbow and dragged them back into the outside where sunshine was waiting for them. It was just a raw effect of just dragging them out of their den.
And James Woods,
Yeah. Okay. So I kind of do genuinely feel that John Carpenter has a certain way of telling a story, and in this case, the telling of the vampire story was well done.
Okay. You chose all, classic vampire movies that people tend to like. They all came out around the same time, actually. There was definitely a theme going on around this time where people were into vampire movies, and this was also all before Twilight, and Twilight ruined all that shit, and that's why all these movies are actually watchable. They're actually decent. They're all very similar, all very violent, they're all very sexual, as you said. There's a lot of sex, and they don't chintz on any of the blood in any of these movies. These are great, bloody, violent vampire movies. They're all similar, they all come out at the same time. How does yours stand out?
Mine?
How does anyone stand out?
Mine has, Dusk Till Dawn has, like I said, it has comedic effects, and it has a very talented writing team in Rodriguez and Tarantino.
So it has comedic effects, and that's what you think wins it over these two?
It's not straight up slapstick comedy, but kind of tongue-in-cheek, very Tarantino-esque style.
What's the thing that makes yours different, Blade? What makes Blade different?
To me, it was more the dynamic between Chris Christopherson and Blade. You have this very vulnerable old man that raised this vampire kid that's could literally kill him at the edge of a sword at any point, but he chooses not to because that is his humanity. And then by mid through the movie, they took that away from him, and then now you see the full Blade unleashed, and I really like that. My only problem with vampires by
Proxy?
Carpenter
was James Woods. I found he made it too cheesy, and I lost interest. I was watching the movie, his cheesy lines, his cheesy jokes, it's just it made the action scenes or the gruesome, the grotesqueness, it took it away. Because now you're laughing, and I don't want to laugh when there's blood and guts and crap going on.
And could you say the same from Dusk Till Dawn? At some point, it does get kind of funny at the end too. Would you say that, or?
I find it's the other way around. I find it starts off funny, and then it
gets vampire.
At the light of the flick of a switch, all of a sudden it's violent, it's brutal, and so it had a better dynamic than John Carpenter's.
Is there too many corny jokes in John Carpenter's Vampires?
You know what? I didn't walk away from that movie feeling like there were corny comments. Maybe, I guess, James Woods' character I didn't really rely on too heavily. Maybe that's part of the reason.
But he was the main character.
You're right. Doesn't necessarily mean when I pay attention to a story, the main character is not going to be the main focus at all points, right? I feel like there was a story to be told here, and it wasn't James Woods' character. He was the hunter. I was more fascinated by the creatures, and I feel like maybe that's part of the reason why I didn't feel like it took away from that effect for the movie. For me, it was simply said, the rawness of it. Everything was just flat out, just displayed in front of you as simply put as it could be. If someone got killed by a vampire, it was usually in a very brutal fashion. Actually, I think one of my other favorite scenes was, I forget who it was that got bitten, but it was one of the hunters. Anyway, it was a female victim who had gotten bitten from a vampire. He decides to take her under his wing in the truck. As they're driving down the road, she suddenly turns and bites him in the neck, takes a good chunk out of him, and then goes back and sucks off that open wound.
Okay.
Wow, I said open wound.
I didn't know where you're going with that.
But again, just it was like a quick moment of let's tear his neck out. Out comes the blood, and they could have done it in a different way, but I guess it was such a quick moment that it just added to the rawness of everything I saw throughout the whole movie. And little moments like that actually made this movie stand out more so than any other vampire movie.
If they would have taken out James Woods, replaced him with Chris Christopherson from Blade, it would have been more of like this Western, serious vampire movie, and I would have been more.
I'm not
like,
hearing enough
in it.
from.
I won't
Clayton.
deny that.
Why is yours better?
What I was gonna make a quick point about Woods. Actually, he in Carpenter's Vampires, Woods is very much the. I have been at this for a long time. I'm a professional. I'm jaded, and I might die any day. So what the hell do I give a shit about some crappy jokes for? I'm going to treat this with as much crass attitude as I can, and because it's just a job.
Interesting. You're defending his movie.
Yeah.
I am defending your movie, but I'm not defending your movie as much as I'm defending James Woods' performance in that movie. But my movie was Dusk Till Dawn, and what is my argument again about which?
That's what I'm asking you.
Oh, about why it's better?
Well,
or why
yeah.
it's- Oh, okay. I am a big fan of Tarantino and Rodriguez style. I mean, like you and me, we're pretty much the same age. We grew up in the era when Tarantino was basically the king of the big screen.
But is there a particular reason why it's better than there too?
Well, just the time that it's more of a sentimental thing. The time that it came out, I was a huge fan of Tarantino. I'm not so much a fan of his later stuff, but I really liked his writing style. I liked that he put himself in his own movies, and I liked... there was kind of a dark vein running through the movie before they even get to the vampires. But it's very much... You can very much tell that it's in his writing style. The fact that he rapes the bank teller or whatever she was...
Yeah.
But he's a deviant throughout the entire movie, and they're driving around in this old, what is it, a 90s, like a 70 Cougar or something, and she's in the trunk. And they actually pan the camera back when they're driving down the road, him and Clooney, and you see the cutaway into the trunk, and you see her, she's bound and gagged in there, and right away you're like, oh, this is kind of dark, but it's just very Tarantino-esque. I like that style, and and the movie came out at a time when his type of movies were really big. So I just kind of grew up on that style, and I like it.
So you're saying it's Tarantino's reasons as to why you feel this movie...
Well, Rodriguez too. I mean, just the type of movies that they made, I was a big fan of, and I'm still a big fan of those type of small-time crime movies. Ones like Layer Cake and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Like in the late '90s, even in mid to late '90s into the 2000s, those type of movies were very popular because the characters were very relatable and they're well written. So I felt like they bled some of that into that movie, even though they could have gone into it and just said, this is just a slasher flick, it's just a vampire flick, but they did something interesting and different about it. True. You know, they took a different twist on it, and I really enjoyed it.
It was certainly a unique story, I'll say that much.
Yeah.
I think they should have taken out the sexual deviance part. I feel like that wasn't necessary at all. It could have been the same movie if they wouldn't have had that. It was just weird. It came out of nowhere.
See that?
And how did it lend to the fact that now he's in a bar with vampires? How did that make him a better vampire killer?
It doesn't. But the thing you have to remember is that before they're vampire killers, they're people. And
yeah,
they're
but they're
very,
they're
very
supposed to
different
be
people.
roughnecks.
But his brother, George Clooney, the older of the Gecko brothers, I think their names were, are... Well, that's their last name.
I have no clue.
But the point is that Clooney is always trying to watch out for Tarantino. And he realizes that he can't always watch out for him because this guy does stuff behind his back because he's crazy.
Okay, one last time around the table. Why is it the best vampire movie? You got one statement. Go. You can go first.
Salma Hayek Snake Dance.
I forgot about that, actually. Thank you.
First good Marvel movie.
Ooh. Let's see here. Torso torn in half. I
feel like you're going to lose that one.
Well, actually, simple sentence. Like, what do you want me to say in a single sentence? It's like,
you know what? I mean, you guys all picked good movies, good classic vampire movies. I really wanted to give it to... I kind of wanted to give it to Myles and say Blade, but because that way you would just win this whole thing and it's done.
Wow. You're going to give me a pity F.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to. I'm actually going to give it to Da Boo. I feel like he's the one who told me why it's the best vampire movie. That last statement, you guys had me torn everywhere. I didn't know where to go, so I said, you know what? Let's just make it a statement. Best vampire movie? Nobody said body torn in half. You know what he said before that? When he countered the goofiness, he said it's more raw. He went back as to why it's a vampire movie. I heard more points as to why it's a good vampire movie as opposed to other points. That's why I'm giving that point to Da Boo.
Well, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. It was tough to counter Dusk Till Dawn because it was a good movie. I enjoyed it.
I love both those movies. Actually, from Dusk Till Dawn, it was one of my favorite of the Tarantino flicks because it's funny how you guys point out it was the way the story was being told. That's not a vampire movie for me, by the way. That reminded me of how Tarantino had a certain way of telling a story and it does suddenly changing in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
In this case, happening to be a vampire movie.
So we're going to do a quick tiebreaker. All right?
Okay, what's between you two?
It's between them. You're going to help me vote.
Okay.
All right? So someone's going to have to defend our movie for tonight, which is Underworld.
Oh.
And I'll tell you what movie you're going to defend it against, but you're not going to get that until someone chooses who's going to defend Underworld. I'm not going to tell you what the other movie is yet.
Nice.
Wait, what?
And I'm going to write it down.
One of you guys has to choose to defend.
So who do you
Underworld?
want to defend it? Because I might give you a worse movie to defend it against.
Okay, I'll say I'll defend it because I
Thank
feel...
God.
Okay, so Boo is going to defend Underworld Blood Wars, and you got to defend it against, read that for me,
Ugh.
Independence Day Resurgence.
Oh boy.
All right.
Yeah.
Did you want to go first since you decided to
Yeah,
defend?
sure. Well,
All right. Can we put some time on something here? Can we
get
get a minute?
Something.
Let's get a minute.
Something
You got a
else
minute
in
to defend it, and then we're gonna give you like I guess 40 seconds to counter, and then
Yeah, you say when to hit the timer.
all right. Whenever you start talking, that's when
All right.
the timer will start.
Well, I'll start by saying this. I feel like Blood Wars had a little bit more going for it than Resurgence. Resurgence had little to no backstory other than the fact that it had only one other movie prior to it, right? So there was nothing to fill in the gaps. You had to immediately go from 1 to 2. 5 in this case, I'm not saying it has any benefit to it other than the fact that it has a lot more story to evolve from. But I really do genuinely feel like it was... honestly, just a series that had action upon action upon action, and then there was always a step forward to go with. Resurgence, on the other hand, kind of just took everything from the first movie and redid it. You know, it was the same story being retold, but with grander things. At least with Blood Wars, it was almost a tie-in to a potential new series of Underworld, which is, you know, the next generation will pass on to her daughter. So, honestly, I do generally say that it's more to do with where the franchise may be going, other than where we're going to end up on the next movie.
And that's time, Boo. All right, so Myles, 1 minute to defend Resurgence versus Underworld, and then we'll do a 30-second counter because I felt that was a long time. And whenever you start talking, that's when it's going to go.
Independence Day, sure, it was the sequel to a movie that happened 20 years ago, but think about it this way. Blood Wars had 4 movies before it, and I'm the only one who's seen all of them, and I still didn't get who the hell was who and what was going on in the movie. Independence Day didn't need 3 filler movies before it. You knew who the characters were. You knew what the aliens' motive was. You knew what was going on. Both movies sucked, but at least my movie, you knew what was going on. It might not have been interesting, but at least you weren't confused and you knew what you were getting. How much time do I got? 30 seconds?
25 seconds.
Oh, okay. There was a lot of cool things that were going on in the movie. There was actual long cuts. They didn't do short edits like your movie did. I would agree that both movies were franchise killers, but at the same time, I would probably go see Independence Day Resurgence before I would go see Blood Wars. Just because Blood Wars was so bad.
All right, time is up.
Shameful! Shame!
All right, so you got 30 seconds to counter that. Da Boo.
Honestly, no, this is not an actual franchise killer for me. I feel like it was just not a franchise proper step forward. I think it was just too much of a filler. But I do feel like there's more ground with Blood Wars than there is with Resurgence. Resurgence did absolutely nothing other than tell me the same story I did in the first one with new graphics. That's it.
And you're not going to use 10 seconds?
Yeah, no, I'm just going to leave it at that. It was just, you did a better job. So.
All right, and 30 seconds for Myles.
At least Independence Day tried new things, gave us better graphics than the original movie. This movie was actually, Blood Wars was a downgrade. The CGI was worse, the directing was worse, the editing was worse, the slow motion was worse. It was a worse movie. There's supposed to be a progression. That one was a regression. You actually lost brain cells while you watched Blood Wars because you're so confused. You gave up halfway. At least Independence Day, you followed it from start to finish. You knew what it was doing, and you didn't care.
Time. All right, so good argument, good fight, very clean. I'm leaning towards who I think won. What do you think, Clay?
I'm going to go with Myles.
I-
He got you on one extra point that Independence Day didn't need the 4 movies to tell the story, and that even after 5 movies, Underworld still was confusing, and it was a downgrade.
I liked that point
I like
as
that
well,
point. Yeah,
and
you're
I
right.
feel like that's what won it for Myles. So your winner, Myles, for our after hours or whatever we're gonna call this
The
segment.
master debater.
Yeah, master debater for life.
All right, so I hope you.
Linguist.
I hope you like what you hear, and if you want to hear more content like this, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below if this is the kind of stuff you want to hear us do. Instead of just reviews, we can do more debates like this. It's really fun for us, so I hope you kind of enjoy this kind of thing. So this is Jpar signing out.
Clayton's out.
This is Myles continuing the drink after this Blood Wars movie. Holy crap.
Da Boo still going bye-bye.
And remember, if you disagree with anything you heard here, or if you think I should have chosen someone different to win these rounds, you could leave a comment below. But as always, we promise nothing! Good night.